biggest, by far, the biggest jar.
Yeah.
So we bump into, because Pro is like, he has a relationship with Jar. He's about to introduce him, like, I'm Koma Ukwani. Ukwani. So like things like that, and he's playing like he ends up playing like his, like before he came out, like his new album. It's like, and you know, like things like that, it's like, yeah, we've come far.
Take. Moody say, can you tell me Moody say? Moody say, can you tell me Judy say? Mama get to Moody say, Moody say. Boy. Moody say, yeah. Incoming. Ndenge Maradona, ndenge ndichidisha, ndichipasa, ndichigona. Inga mnozviziva anomakwane bhora. Anenge vachizama kundisendera magora tumahora asi zvinhu zvatinoona masamora.
Mfano budget.
Hey, tisofa budget. Waliona show yedu chikuita kuti tisaite inspiration. So naenda mababy, anenge ari kuseri kwemakamera. Anenge achigutsira musoro. Zvekuti ukabvunza mubvunzo chacho yes Dennis.
We haven't even put out one episode wakutotara nyaya kuti like an inspiration, bro, like.
Ndopanoshanda contact list ka.
You just say.
Yekuunza mababy.
Anyway, Kandoro is coming now.
Yeah.
Can you please behave? Behave yake pa episode ya Fortune Chassis, bro. Honestly.
Ayo, ndara. Mungandi behave, mutasinge nenda zvisiri pa script. Pane zvira ndakaita zvisiri pa script.
Une script.
Nene script. Nene na producer, nene na script pass. Nene script pass kuti tukudai so tare so. Saka sanasi ndembunzo yanga ndinayo. Ndara. Are you a Zimbabwean or you are a British person?
Oh, because I want a green passport.
You need on to see so so far, but
Green passport in Zimbabwe because I want a British passport.
What or not?
I don't know. The answer is not
Boy, kusaka mu Zimbabwean ere kana kuti mu British.
Plus man no kim Zimbabwean.
Kana ari mu Zimbabwean is safe.
Okay.
Akana ari mu British is safe. But kana ari mu Zimbabwean zvivindi ari kuzwana kupi pese. Iyo zvazvindi.
No, but one of the things that I actually want to talk to him about is, did you see my numbers he was with Nick Mangwana?
Saruziana.
Either Ziana, or maybe you can actually say what you want in Zimbabwe and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, let's wait and see. But in the book list come my questions. Zvinyatso sei kozi
kujisa moyo akapfeka ring nasanza
madam ndasinde in front of the camera.
Or just before you're about to tell someone who they're fine and they come to you and they're like, Dad.
You're the one. How often does that happen?
Of late, it's been very, very frequent. And sometimes it's people that, like, you know, sometimes you look at, it's somebody that you've looked up to, like,
yeah.
So, like, I think yesterday we bumped into, like, Dadza D. Never met Dadza D before in my life.
Yeah.
I would not have thought because Dadza D knows who I am.
Yeah.
But he sees me, he's like, oh, you! Oh, you! Like, literally, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Like, I chop go and I chop, like, you know, like, and in my head, I'm like the next, like, because now I was raised on dancehall, like, before they started calling it sing dancehall.
Yeah.
Like I have, like, yeah, like, you know, Nigrigini, I'm a dancehall champion from a long time, my junior dance. Pavanigwana Gaspi Warrior and a dad's and who's the other one? And then there's a line where he goes, da cricket da da da. That's what I'm doing in front of him, and this is the guy that's telling you. So it's like, you know, like another random one is like Plaxidis when you,
yeah,
you know, it's like,
bro, and I know how big a fan you are of urban groups specifically. Like, Yeah, no, that would be dope.
Yeah, so it's like you meet these people and you want to, like, I remember bumping like Trevor Dongo Zimfest in the UK. I was backstage. He's just coming off stage. I'm about to, he's like, Madorovia! Like the night that it happened very frequently was Namas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm, because I know my number and she's going to collect myself in that. So my
with
phone
everyone.
Was, yeah, so my phone was ready and not and bumping to Freeman. It's like,
Kandoro.
didn't you want my video? But I think the biggest, by far, the biggest is Ja.
Yeah.
So we bump into, Pro is, because Pro is like, he has a relationship with Ja. He's about to introduce him, like, I'm coming with Ukwani. Ukwani. So I don't know, like things like that, and he's playing like he ends up playing like his, like before he came out, like his new album. It's like and you know, like things like that. It's like, yeah, we've come far.
But not just we've come far, right? But does it feel like we've arrived? Because I mean, so, and here's the thing, we were talking about this the other day actually.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you have everyone's attention.
Yeah.
There's that video of Catch and Release where ED's laughing at a Kandoro video.
Yeah.
So ED knows who Kandoro is. Apparently he hasn't deep dived into watching propaganda.
I hope not.
I hope so too, for everyone's sake.
Yeah.
But we've already gotten to that point where ED's like, yo,
there's
Arigo, this guy. Nick Mangwana is there, and we'll talk about that.
That's the homie.
That's the homie. Nick Mangwana is there, like, that's Kandoro, you know what I mean? And that means that you're now pretty much at the point where maybe everyone except the Rudlands know who you are.
Yeah.
So, I think there's like a different level of access that comes with that.
Yeah.
Like where, even when it comes to fundraising, and you know, like I'm discovering this slowly now as I start to shoot more and more stuff.
Yeah.
Whether it's like trying to get a guest to come here or, you know, trying to raise the money that it costs to do everything. It's a lot more difficult, but I think there's like a crossover point where you're actually like, yo, I can hit up people now.
Yeah.
And people are ready and willing to invest.
Yeah.
Doesn't that feel like arriving?
I think we're still a few ways from like the point of arriving, and it's primarily because we are born Zimbabwean. There are certain things like are shorter, so you find like even on the fundraising element, like you find like a good 70-80% of people genuinely want to participate, want to invest, want to put money, but there is a nervousness, you know, jokes, you know, like as much as people they can't do that, they can't, but you know, and it just speaks of where we are as a nation more than where people are. Like people want to meet you, but like it does have, you know, there are moments where very much like, you know, we are a long way from, you know this more than anyone, like where we, you know, tijirwa mashows pasna microphone, but mune mic stand, you know, you know, sometimes we'll pay for other comedians, and it's nice to have where it almost feels like a reverse situation where previously and now it's the inverse of that, where people are like, when is the next show?
What can we do?
Where is Mukoma Bruce? Where is Nigrini? So it's a very, I just wish for things to normalize, because for me, in as much as, it's not gonna, Mukuru, Wenyika, Nick Mangwana knows, but my intent very much is to make this an acceptable career for. To get it to a point where it's successful, somebody can use you as a reference point. No.
I want to do this because Kandoro did it and it worked.
Because I feel like for most of us in the creative pursuit, it's very easy to get lost in the lies of Kuti. You get it? Like I think there's a threshold where it's like and they narrow pressure and they narrow. So it becomes, because we're still a long way from ukaona ndichiri palevel yekuti for sure yangu ndofanira ndinotengesa tickets mbawa personal.
Yeah.
At such a ngatiregere kunyipirana.
Yeah.
You know, like, bro, Japreza started selling tickets for his launches on Monday.
Yeah. And they were
$10,
$10, $20, $30 in phases for the general tickets, or the 20, 30, 40 or so. But it was they were expensive, is all I'm saying.
They had a ticket at $200. And they started selling them on Monday. And I have to start selling my tickets 3 months.
And didn't get it $200. You must sure. Good money laundering.
No.
You must sure.
No, proper. Yeah, so I'm saying that to say, as nice as it is, as much as we would take a moment to like proper celebrate where we are, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to get this content, this comedy to the people.
Yeah, there was something that you touched on that I find to be very fascinating, right? And that's like comedians being under threat.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit touchy because it goes into how people feel, like sort of woke culture or whatever people want to call it, right?
Yeah.
Which is necessary in so many ways.
Yeah.
There's so many things that people need to be calibrated about. But I feel like as comedians, that's the one space where if you absolutely want to make fun of ED, you should be able to do that as a comedian.
Yeah.
If you want to make fun of Chamisa, you should be able to do that as a comedian. But in recent times, it feels like the line between is Kandoro, a comedian or an activist, it starts to look blurry.
Yeah.
Like how do you walk that? How do you feel about yourself in those positions? Is it a voice that should matter in that way?
Yeah.
Or are you just...
That's a very good question. But I think
that's what I do. I invited you here to ask you good questions.
But I think it's like... I think comedy is probably like the oldest form of activism, because like as a starting point, comedy is just used to mask like very harsh truth. It could be in social settings. But you're doing it like like it's not as like takushedza. So in many ways, it's been used interchangeably to correct social deviances. Let's but the difference now is there's almost like there's a difference between Kandoro using his platform to speak about things that matter to him, and there's a difference between Kandoro being paid to use his platform by somebody else. Like, you can tell when somebody has been paid X amount of money to speak certain agendas, but like, this person does not believe this
at all.
Yeah, because when you now further interrogate some of these claims, they cannot
Did you see when Love Muma Duku was explaining what Hubert Angel was
exactly
doing? It's like, bro,
you are mercenary. Do you get it? Like, you've been sent to do this, and like, you don't believe it, but you're clocking in. You get it? Like, you are clocking in. It's like, I have the time where when people get accused of being pro this by simply saying register to vote. Like, there are people who are afraid to say register, but it's like, why? Like, wangu, I'm not registered to vote for
someone.
That register to vote.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? But like, you're right in that, the space has felt very political in so many ways. It takes like a certain level of emotional intelligence to navigate and know, I'm doing this for XY reasons. For the most part, I try to have like decent intentions. But the thing that I tried, like, if you say what you say in English, the problem is when you go out and say, pass it on again, because, but if you try to throw, like, if you, every sentence, try to throw in, like, a word like susceptible. Yeah. And it's like, it's going to take, it's like...
Let's put that on the side. A minute of tourism.
So you find, like, in propaganda, we'll throw in, like, random words. Like, intentionally, people think I'm joking, but, like throwing, like, preponderance. It's like, okay, I know Gutumuna, this report. He's going to have to explain to their boss. And boss, I got this right, No, that chirungu actually very matter of fact. Like missiles, attack, retreat,
Go shops.
yeah, you know, so you try, but like I think for the most part also it's about towing that line.
Yeah.
You know? Recognizing kuti, like you can only do so much through comedy.
Yeah.
Like you're not trying to, like the thing that I think I've tried to do well is we are not talking about anyone's small house.
Yeah.
But kana mkaba mari yenyika, we're going to ask.
Of course.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, state funds are missing, but we're not like, oh, there was someone and a minister ningi kumashwere. Like that's not really.
CI minister
like yes, CI minister ningi. What we need to be asking is, Maria against kumashwere ndenyike. Like, so already mashwere doesn't matter. You get it? Like, but Maria and this Amaniga, is this a
plus mugeno mashwere ni mari yenyika mufano ngotingira umuntu sema drinks muzazonwa mega
at the
maunoti
very
vairira ni mari yedu futi
kungoshedzera kuti mavhota munhu wese ane registration slip gaende pabar
anopiwa mashots. But you know, I spent the last year doing a breakfast show on Capital.
Yeah.
Biggest and only talk station in the country. So we got a lot of leeway to have conversations. And the one thing that people constantly would say is propaganda. You know what I mean? Like you're running through a story and people are like, I'm boys or whatever. Yeah. And you know what? I'm sitting in this room and I'll be honest with you, there was never a time where anyone ever said, don't say this. Or don't say that.
Right.
But I think there's also an element to Kungoshidzora as a human being, which is, I think, what you're describing when you talk about emotional intelligence. Like understanding. Like, for example, in that year that we were there, Mayor Wachgajena had a big corruption case. Yeah. We talked about the fact that ZACC was commissioned, they spent millions of dollars, zero convictions, right? Yeah. In whatever context
you ever seen the new office?
Yes,
the old US embassy, bro. Yes, bro. That item was millions of dollars for sale, and they own that item.
Do you know the like this year? Do you know who was arrested? Anti-corruption. It's like those council people who accepted a bribe of $20 was Munanga claim. They're like, right, I want to show you. That's who was arrested, and that arrest came just as the gold mafia thing happened. They were like,
but you see, and that's the interesting part of it, right? You have an institution that's set up in the country to do anti-corruption, and it looks like they're not doing it. But also at the same time, you're like, it's kind of hard to feel like that is the issue of the people at the top. Yeah. As opposed to Vanvarko Anti-Corruption Commission, are those people being held accountable enough?
I think they're just there to spend money. Have you ever seen the fleet of cars those guys here? Like the old US Embassy car park is not enough for their cars. So they're now using the neighbors' carports to put their cars.
And it's like, what are you guys using these cars for? I think it's a culture that we've gotten to where it's like not even one election cycle. Like even if the best case scenario, whatever best case scenario is, we're not going to be saying wild things on video. But whatever best case scenario that you hope from election was to happen, I promise you nothing was going to change.
So that's interesting. Yeah. And I think let's actually talk about that. Yeah. So there's growing concerns about CCC. Yeah. And now I seem like because I had actually wanted to give Nick Mangwana credit earlier. Because firstly, like what we're saying, you were at the Namas, you got to go and be around him. Magatorama picture, etc. I think they would have found you.
Do you know, let me tell you an interesting thing. When I got nominated for the Namas, like I genuinely believed, like from an arrogant standpoint, I deserved to be nominated like 2 years ago. Yeah. Right? So when it didn't happen 2 years ago, I was like, then it didn't happen last year, I was like, yeah, screw you guys. I'm done with you. And then I got nominated this year. And the way my brain works was like, right, they did this just so they could take it away from me.
Or they nominate you, but not you don't win.
Because I was nominated in a category where people were like, it's obvious. I was like, that's why these bastards get it. They nominate me and put me in a category where everyone is like, and then they take it away. Yeah. So I didn't participate in anything. I didn't tweet. I didn't do anything because I was like, I'm not going to bring attention to myself. So that when this thing, I fully expected it to go.
Yeah.
But, they gave us the invitation. I was like, you know what? Why waste the night? Yeah. Me and my Tano, let's go hang out. Yeah. But even if you, see where we were seated, it was like, Tantaga, Wanda, Mukakona, Taito Wanzravan. Wona dress running, wona zeta speech, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then they get to the, Hana because obviously, the disappointment. I didn't realize, there's a thing that people do when they especially creatives. It's almost like we've been shamed into this fake humility thing where it's like you get something and you have to pretend like you didn't want it, and soft. Like, no, I wanted that thing.
And I've been working hard.
Yeah. So when they go to I was then reminded of how much I wanted it, because for me, that's national validation.
Yeah.
Do you get it? So
it doesn't get better than that on a national level.
It does not. Yeah. It doesn't. And what people don't realize is every country, at the very least in SADC, it has a National Arts Merit Award of sorts.
Yeah.
So it speaks to if you go to Zambia, they if you are a Nama winner, they know.
Yeah.
In Nama, they're like, oh shit, he won their version, because it matters to Zambians, matters to Namibians. South Africans, they don't call it Nama, but it's like they have an equivalent. Yeah. You get it? So it was something that I needed on a validation on a national level. We're just not running around saying Trogona as a comedy. So when they announce now Kujita winner, it's like, oh shit.
It looks like there might be some fairness. But
yeah.
Last year.
Not even.
Why just for the last 2 years that you deserve things you didn't deserve?
No, but
I used to tell me a
don't do that. I don't do that. That's my boy. But I think in a post now, I like walking around saying, that night, the whole night, that's probably the only award that no one can dispute.
Yeah. An undisputed award.
And when I say that, I mean in terms of, do you know how hard it is for the guys that you're making fun of to say, I know.
I know.
No.
Our winner.
In dance, in acting, and it's there's equal amount of talented guys doing Ningrikin. But in comedy, there's 3 people who are doing comedy, right? But one of them has a very obvious victim. And the victim is the one that is adjudicating this thing. And it's okay.
And validating the quality of the product.
It's we can't. So it was a very proud moment.
But this was about giving credit to
Nick.
And I was also going to tell a story about how one time I actually just bumped into him somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me go and have a conversation with him. I approached him. I said, Mkoma, and I had some thoughts which I won't share here. And he really gave me time. He took his time out. He listened. And then in the parts where he disagreed, he's like, no, this is what you don't know. This is what you don't understand, which I think is important.
Yeah.
But I was saying that to say, we're sort of talking about the whole CCC and people, and what parts of this mess that we're in are systematic. Because let's assume for a second that CCC is actually going to come and not be corrupt. Is the corruption at VID going to stop?
No, it's not.
Or is the corruption at the passport office? Those places?
On an individual level. We've gotten to the point where the system, the air, everything is inherently
corrupt.
Where the slightest inconvenience in our personal lives, somebody that would $10
straight away.
Wapura pa Znara pa radio ningiri. Radio license iri kuve mkuru. But I fight. Yeah. Like if you do the math, like somebody would rather pay this collective 5-year drink rather than pay
Radio license.
$25.
But I'm not going to about $50 over the course of the year.
But it's like, I just don't have, and it's almost like a yin-yang relationship, because at the same time as I understand Kandoro, Asruguda Kubadara, the $25 in Ningrini, the thought process in that person's defense, they might say, because what they do, these people is like, right now, but they don't give you the disc that you put, they give you a receipt and say you need to go collect. They don't tell you where you need to collect this thing. Do you get it? So now it's a problem. We're now in the Pinam town. And the badara zinara yangu, the badara radio license yangu, the badara insurance, my sister remote. Team Rare no claim per area.
Vano to failure to display.
Pa! Ndufano badara $57. That is a real thing that happened. So it's now a yin-yang of, in the individual, I'm not inclined to follow the rules because of X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
But the system itself does not encourage people to follow the rules.
And it's not just that, right?
Yeah.
And I always talked about passport office for years.
Yeah.
Apparently this new passport office is better, but I don't have personal experience. But But bro, do you know that passport office? You'd go on the Endaku room 7.
Yeah.
Obog room 7 on the Endaku room 13.
Yeah.
Obog room 13, Endaku room 33.
Yeah.
Mukudzei Majoni, Mushikile room 11. Mushika room 11. There's no way that a bunch of professionals sat somewhere and said, let's design the best system that we can have in this country for issuing passports, and that was the best system that they came up with. Even with the given resources, the given people that they have, the given offices and technology that they had, it just did not make sense. And I feel like those things are done to frustrate you enough for you to go and pay the bribe.
Yeah. So I think I can't remember whether we are planning on doing this as an episode of propaganda or we already did it. But there's right now, it almost exists as it's a theory of like half the systems that we have in Zimbabwe were inherited from Rhodesia.
Yeah.
Right? So the colonial systems that were put in place were designed to frustrate the African. So you look at the processing to a birth certificate.
Yeah.
They don't want the African to get the birth certificate. They don't want them to get the ingredient. So it's a and then so they don't have the birth certificate, they can't vote.
Yeah.
They can't participate in any, and instead of there being a proper upheaval and saying, okay, in recognition of ABC, because right now, the legitimate, the most reasonable thing to do is to decentralize everything.
Yeah.
There's not a reason why somebody should come from Gweru to get a passport or a birth certificate in Harare. You get it? Like there's hundreds of Zimpost buildings
across the country
that are empty. Why can't a section of that be used for people to do that?
Because really and truly, Ukwita must fingerprints. You're going to fill out a form, hand in your form, and things are going to be processed.
That's another thing also. My fingerprint. I don't know if they still do this, but for the sake of agenda, they still do this. My birth certificate, my fingerprints, are going ink.
Yeah,
it's
they don't do that anymore.
They don't do that. Police, no, not to passport office.
Oh, police clearance.
Yeah.
Bro, that police clearance is fraudulent.
That's what I'm saying. Alright, when we do police clearance, Panamuna don't have my fingerprint.
Bro,
what do you mean?
If there's something that is just literally a waste of time in this country, and you need it for so many things, you need it for visas, those things are useless. I can assure you that there's no one who's ever been caught out for being a criminal via police clearance one more step. I can assure you. So
that's the thing. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What? So, like you say, it now becomes a system. The person knows it. So I'm going to find somebody who can fast track this police clearance issue because. I know even it's like I can, there's no.
I can sort this out quickly.
And I'm out. So it becomes very, man. Even if I think their work is cut out for them. Whoever comes into whoever comes into power, their work is cut out for them in terms of figuring things out.
But how much leeway do you give? And I now sound like a propagandist, but like how much leeway do you give Shumba for the system that he inherited? Do you think like things have progressively gotten worse, or is he also just trying to recover a system that was already rotten?
I give him very little, man. I give him very little solely because I can't remember of any politician in the last decade who had that much good faith.
Yeah.
I cannot remember any politician who had that much.
It would be him and Hichilema in Zambia, but it's them two. Those two, I agree.
Yeah,
they're
no, but
right
like
at
with
the top.
Hichi, it's like with Zambia, right?
Yeah.
Like with their people, like him coming into power wasn't that much of a shock as, like it was a shock, but it wasn't that much of a shock as anything that will happen in the political space in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Because those people have had elections where they change presidents. Do you get it? So he wasn't like coming in after like, years of the same guy. It's like we've given another guy a chance to try and he failed. Let's give you
another chance.
You know, like he had goodwill. I mean, here's a guy with money, but like with Shumba, it's like you come in at a time where even your worst enemy is like, damn, nigga.
Chamisak went to the inauguration.
Do you get what I mean?
And then he was like, but it was a coup, like, but bless Maganda inauguration.
Do you get what I mean?
Cool.
Like, it's like, and like, even from the inauguration,
yeah.
Maybe it's just good. I'm just a hater. Like, like when I saw that inauguration, I think that's where, like, the woo started, you know. What ZANU-PF has done and what people don't realize, like when people speak about elections, it's like everyone wants, especially when people are having these conversations in power. Hey, what is ZANU-PF? People don't realize, like, you don't govern or rule a country for 43 years by being dumb.
No.
There is no way.
Not
you
at all.
don't remain in control. For all its faults, those people have had their foot on our necks by, like, they're so smart.
Yeah.
And I think once people start taking ownership, the conversation starts being easier because some of the faults are not accused of. Like,
no. No.
Like, no, guys.
There's an intelligence with context, right? Like these people understand this Zimbabwean situation better than anyone has ever understood, and that's why they keep winning.
I'll give you an example. Right now, the guy, you know Scott Sagupwan?
Yeah.
There is not a single road in Mabuku that is a pothole. Right now. There is not a single, if people are looking for my trucks at bitumen, Mabuku. Like I promise you, I have, like they've been there for the past 2 months.
Yeah.
Like a stretch of 1 kilometer of road costs no less than $1 million to plus or minus to fix.
Yeah.
There is not a single stretch of road in Mabuku, Tafara, that has a pothole. All of it is newly minted. So tell me what James Chidakwa or whatever upcoming...
But at a certain point, we also then have to be able to have the conversation that Scott Sagupwanya is a net positive for Mabuku. And if I was a resident in Mabuku, I would go and vote for Scott. Because Scott Argupama deliverables that we can see. And that's important.
That it is important.
So I think he shouldn't be an example of the bad politician.
No. It's not an example of a bad politician. Where I was bringing him up is when that is happening, like this is a playbook that has been used repeatedly.
Yeah.
That people keep falling for, right? Where everyone is saying ZANU-PF is dumb, and somebody comes up 2 months before an election and fixes a road. It's a no-brainer who those people are going to vote for.
Of course.
So this conversation now needs to be shifted from Kugadra road Sibasara MP.
Of course.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Where the people need to be educated enough to know Kuti Basara MP Arisire Kugazra. That's on a council level. Yeah. That's on a ward level where it's like, let's have this conversation, which is where Triple C or whoever is in the opposition needs to educate their people to Musavarwe.
But panotozviziva here makansela etriple C kuti basa rakansela
That's what I'm saying. When we talk about things that they should be doing.
Because I know of a councillor kumaren kwamndoramba nchimutaura councillor. Councillor yekushtungiza kuna mvura unotomira nemuline remvura. Pachibhorani anonga ne 20 zvigubhu councillor zvakaita line so. But the councillor wati kutesira kuti my results achabva kuna uyu. But iye anotomungira une zvigubhu zvake saka why are you there for?
Because people forget kuti an MP is a legislator.
Yeah.
Like that's the full extent of their job.
Yeah.
To represent their communities on a legal level.
Yeah.
Kwenu kuruneza ningrini, kune ma child marriages, kune ma ningrini, hakuna MP arofana ngatigadzira vanhu road. And unfortunately they don't have the time to figure this out. But at the same time, they are not under as much pressure as they think they are. Because the people, for the most part, want them to succeed.
Yeah.
Like even vanhu vari muzano PF, a good portion of them, the well-meaning ones, want Triple C to succeed. Because any good country has a decent opposition.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Of course.
It
matters.
Even Hichilema right now, he has an opposition. It keeps him in check. It keeps him
accountable.
I will always refer to this. The closest thing to normalcy that we've had in Zimbabwe is 2009 to 2013.
It was, yeah.
Right? And that was because these people were sitting across from each other and saying,
yeah, stop it.
Stop it.
It doesn't is different.
Because they were in green and things, it wasn't perfect, but it was the closest thing to normalcy.
That time was great. That time was great. People were getting dollars, earning dollars, spending dollars.
People. The problem that we have is that Zimbabwe is always in election mode.
Yeah.
Right? Right now, Israel Sovan are campaigning, jostling for positions, primaries, what. And we get to elections. The next 2 years are about reshuffles, putting into the new commissions.
Technocrats, this, that. Yeah.
And then as soon as that period is over, people start campaigning. There's never a time where the people that have been voted into are actually building.
Yeah.
And even like now, even when you speak about, it's so hard to have a conversation about nuance and actually applaud ZANU-PF for the 3 things that they've done decently.
Yeah.
Without being labeled as...
Without being a propaganda person.
You go to Bedbridge. That a Bedbridge is different.
Yeah.
Bedbridge is...
Including the road to Bedbridge, that you can evidently see there's work going on that road.
Different. We can have a conversation about who paid for it.
But it doesn't matter. But what matters is development.
Bedbridge is different. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't like, from the ZANU-PF side, I don't like how half the things that they do it as if they're doing us a favor. Do you get it? Like even road yatagadzirwa like not with between every it's ridiculous.
But I think there's a communication standpoint, and we're gonna segue away from politics before it is. We
can. I think. But episode,
But I think there are 2 things. The first thing is ZANU-PF has often communicated poorly, even on the things that they do. And there was a tweet that you put up the one time, and I remember was it a tweet or was part of you said where you're like, sometimes it feels like there's a shorter son. Like bro, like thank you.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
You're meant to be doing it. Like at no point, like even Roger Tumsaura.
Yeah. That's what you're meant to be doing.
That's what you're meant to be doing.
And thank you for it. But I think the second thing is also we don't give enough credit to how many people in this country actually just want this country to succeed.
And our common enemy is not even ZANU-PF. It's NAMO.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Whoever is bringing NAMO on the people, we are against that person.
Yeah.
But true is NAMO. So but Zimbabwe like, do you get what I mean? Like kutondona nakabata kotira. Do you get what I mean? Like, and we end up spending weeks discussing the fissures within I don't like how he spoke to me, but it's like the common enemy namo is just watching.
Like confusion.
Confusion and green. Like, and it's almost defeatist on the level of people have decided, okay, this is what Zimbabwe is going to be like.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a career, generational wealth, from being opposition politician.
Or opposition activist, or opposition something.
Saka, I'm going to, I know that nothing is going to change. I have no interest in changing anything. Ndechi kondika gara. Ndo vadaita ningiri. Ndo ramba ndichitrenda. Ndo wina chaward changu. Ndo dai. Ndo tsiura vapana. Ndo vati vari unfocused. Ndo like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's there is no genuine intent in it, because if we are saying tukurisa namo, ngaturisa namo.
Tese.
Zvekuzoita zvekuningirina tozozviita zvakawanda. That is a conversation that I am willing to say zvakawanda tozozvitsvaga. I genuinely dislike the fact that people think you can only have conversations with people that you agree with.
And anyway,
that's not life. Mumba medu chemshemo. Pane chidakwa. Pane munhu anonamata. Pane munhu anoningirina. Tikati isusu tungowirirana mumhuri medu nemunhu anonamata chete. Tonangepi nemhuri. Like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that thing of we've gotten into this mess for this long because tese tungogairana.
Yeah.
Who we support is not an identity. It shouldn't even matter. Like, these conversations, when we figure out and we disagree within harmony, you see, like, I met Nick Mangwana. I was genuinely shocked about how much of a normal human being. Yeah, because you see that guy on social media, you think,
no, he's such a normal guy.
He's just a guy who really loves his job.
And he's also a guy who understands a lot more than people think he understands. Do you know, like, we've gotten to the point where when COVID happens, we all become doctors. Gold coins come around, we all become economists. This happens, we all become this. And people start to believe that people who are in actual positions of power don't understand the things that are associated. And I was telling you earlier about when I met Nick Mangwana, and he's a guy who understands the issues. Don't ever for a second think that they don't understand what the struggle is or what. They understand those things. But I want to move on because if we keep talking about this, we'll do a part 2 for more. Yeah. But people don't know that you host a party for me every year on my birthday. On the 24th of December, MK has a thing that he does, and we've seen it grow from strength to strength. It wouldn't be a fair conversation if we didn't talk about that. This last year was in celebration.
Yeah.
I was there. In fact, I've been to every single one of them. And we can see that progress. But I also picked out something during that time, which was the nature of your content sort of shifting. There's an international feel to what you're trying to do, whether it's from the writing perspective, and I've been watching you for a long time. There was a time where, you know, the content was centered around Nick Mangwana.
It was centered around Harare.
It was centered around Harare.
To begin with.
And then in this recent one, you now had the jokes about South Africa. Where you're like, bro, these guys are making fun of us, but we see the path that you're on. It's like, obviously, I know you, so I know that a lot of what you do is very intentional. But what does that speak to in terms of where we're going in the next couple of years?
Trying to get this Netflix money, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Trying to get this Netflix money. I think I always had a clear, trajectory that I've tried to follow. Which, okay, let's speak about things that we know.
Yeah.
So let's start off speaking about Harare. Mbinga dzema Harare, so and so and so and so. And then we move to, we're trying to bring it to, blues.
Yeah.
Bring blues in the conversation. You're trying to make it a Zimbabwe conversation.
Yeah.
And then I relocated to the UK, and it's like, okay, what does that come with? You know, you're now dabbling in quite a few cultures. Let's reflect those times. Let the people see where we're going. So now even with the move, it's like I think of myself as a Pan-African comedian, you know. So I try very much for those issues to be reflected. Okay, first I'm a Zimbabwean. What matters to me on that level?
Yeah.
But like as an African comedian, what matters to me? Because there is so much, you know, and also just following the greats, you know, what other brilliant African comedians have been doing. Like right now, you have Loiso Gola, you know, blazing the trail. You know, previously, you know, your Trevor Noahs, you know, your Patrick Salvadors, you know, your Basket Mouths, just trying to follow that rich heritage. Because the advantage with being an African comedian, which I might be wrong, but I don't think there is ever anyone in a position to have such rich stories, right?
Yeah.
Because with Americans, they all experience the same thing. It doesn't matter where you stay. New York, California, niggas is getting shot wherever you are.
Yeah.
Like
Chicago.
Gun violence, Trump this, Trump right? It's like 200 million.
Actually, it feels lazy now almost.
Right. It's 400 plus million people.
330. US.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, 330. I think.
With one president.
Yeah. 2
major political parties. Same thing in the UK.
Yeah.
Right? 67, 68 million people.
2 sides.
2 sides. Africa, 54 countries, different presidents. You get it? Within, there's like, but the thing that unites us, right, is now, Urugu Nigeria, Urugu Nepal, Kuno Gzesa, South Africa, ESCOM.
Yeah.
You get it? Hichilema, like, but like it's different stories. Do you get what I mean? Like it's like the shades they use are very different. You go to Nigeria, they are doing Jollof versus what Kuno Kids Pap versus like right with America, it's Popeyes versus it's the same food.
Yeah.
Burger King, McDonald's, it's the same food.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So what you end up having is you have a lot to draw from.
Yeah.
Do you get it? Like you can speak about wildlife, you can speak about like even just the simple mystery of these gang people that would think you live next to a lion.
You ride an elephant to school.
Do you know? Like I hate that storyline, but it's like
it's a real storyline.
It's a real storyline where it's like there's something to be spoken about there.
Yeah.
So I think there is so much that can be done with Africa where it's like even now this boom with minerals and all this. So I'm very excited to be tapping into all these spaces and seeing how far we can take it.
But I have a ask. Kana mnaita zvemaskits. Zvemaskits. Does that mean kuti munhu akutokwanisa kuita stand up comedy? Because ndine macandidates anga ndoziva anoyanza kuti uyu chinhu chaachimanya.
Raven.
Amene ndobvunzotara Ravens anongona. And me ndobvunzotara mastere producer but. Necho noti madambo stand up comedian avasi zvavo. Kana maititi, kana comic past, kana Nijo. Maybe Butus bo. But mwempesa kwaya ku7 atsu kanonzi anwe mavendo. Batense. Akarasa list rema jokes. Akadzima pa stage.
Do you know me and MK I always say this to MK. I don't know how many over the years. I've always said to him, comedy, stand-up comedy is the toughest art form.
Yeah.
Bro, stand-up comedy is hard. I've seen MK bring some of his homies because like MK would always have a posse whenever he would be performing. So he'd have like 6 or 7 other guys would be next to him also performing. Some of those guys were there to show how good MK was.
You see,
so like come bomb early and then into Bandazo.
Because I feel like there's a difference. Once you guys are always telling me that just some more paying on no tell no segesa. But this was as fun and pack contrast again in the Kandoro. And I go my stand up comedian because my drive. I think in Zimbabwe my comedians are no constant kunongedzera I get 10 katodonzotai.
Yeah.
Because kune vanhu vakawanda like shout out, rest in peace, and Clef Chigubu.
Yeah.
Clef Chigubu was a great comedy. That guy. Because follow nyaya yake. But these upcoming comedians, they are talking about sex. They're talking about what they are forcing us to laugh. You get what I'm saying?
I mean, there's some good comedians. I'm not Kwanda, but there's some good comedians.
Quite a few.
There's a guy who opened for Kandoro. Tinashe, incredible. I watched him perform with another guy called Munya, who I also thought was incredible.
Mike,
I've also seen Mike for sure, man. Shout out Mike.
Munya Gramatunu.
Munya Gramatunu. Tinaye is incredible. There's a guy called Louis. He's not in Zim anymore apparently or whatever. But like he was definitely one of my favorites as well. So they're very good. Dog Vikela. Long John.
So here's the thing. No, John is brilliant, man. John is brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'll explain. Everything comes down to Zimbabwe being Zimbabwe, right? Zimbabwe puts you in a space where you end up having to try everything. Like there's certain people who have clarity. I'm a stand-up comedian, right? There's certain people who have like inini ndogona green. Kids on green. The problem that comes is that the audience itself has attitudes toward these art forms. They will look at comedy kids and try to treat it lesser than comedy green. In as much as there is a perceived hierarchy, that shouldn't be an attitude that comes from the audience. Because all these art forms should be well-paying art forms. Skits or /sketch comedians, that's how Saturday Night Live is made. Those people are on TV every day for 1 hour, 30 minutes. Those people get syndicated shows on HBO and in Green. Zimbabwe doesn't have that industry that allows
for that to be
for sketch comedy to thrive. So now it's treated as my comedians about Facebook. Do you get it? There's a number category for skits, which I think does more harm than good.
Because it makes it seem like you can't be like clown.
Social media skits, and it's like I think from the naming of the thing, it should have Chiremu.
Yeah.
Like digital content creation or something which somebody can tell the value behind it. I don't know what the name of the thing is. So what it does now is that someone of sketch comedy ends up saying, let me go try stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So that I can gain whatever valuation or more visibility. Let me get maybe ndokune because munarungo zama. But then what is comedy skits itongorine 5 wire per month yarukupa. You would not find anyone achizama zvazvo. But stand up comedy ngune 5 wire.
But Iwewe, you've done every single one of those, and that was something I wanted to bring up originally. Yeah. You did the skits in the beginning. You went and did the podcast, shout out Saturday in the morning with Nick. And then you went on to do, I mean, the stand-up was always
Nick Mangwana,
Nick Titan. I know the Nick Titan.
Clarity.
Yeah. But like you went and did all of that. How much of that do you think was a part of why you were able to corner so many different markets? Because Mukudzei Majoni try, but so now we are speaking about the difference in the level of brilliance. Yeah. Now, right? There's never been a single time.
Not everyone is cold.
That's the thing. Where there's never been a single time where anyone has said, this is Kandoro. Do you get what I mean? Like, there's never been a single time. Like, my kids, do you get what I mean? Like, we do the podcast, like right now, talking about Avonde, 5 different people that will claim 5 different things from me. That's the same podcast. That's the same Koma Bruce. That when's the next show? Propaganda of... Do you get what I mean? Yeah. That speaks to a brilliant guy. And I will say this in the most humble way. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone can do that. Right? Like I don't walk around saying there was never a time where I didn't do these things so that nditi ndakaipa.
I did these things because I genuinely love comedy. So if I find a new way of expressing comedy, I'm going to try figure that out. If it's I have a silly idea, I could have Batman over ghetto. Let's see how far we can
take it.
But we scratch that itch, we are done. Do you know what I mean? There are things that I love more. I love stand-up comedy more than any other of these little things that I do. But I think the thing that transcends now is Kuti. I've never done anything, to my knowledge, to get anyone's attention. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Which now I think prevails in all these things where it's like, we're not doing a podcast to say outlandish things so that we can be viral.
Yeah.
But like,
we're actually going to produce a good podcast.
If we say outlandish things, we say outlandish things because that's who we are.
Yeah.
Those are tea. But like, you can tell the difference between somebody trying to say something crazy for people's attention.
Of course.
Like, nigga, you don't believe this. Do you get what I mean? Like, you can tell when something has been produced. Skitty, itirwa kunzi tinzi tiri viral, but
it's not.
It's not that Nigerian. I think that's Nigerian. I know, like, I have brilliant shout out to Nijo. There are people that I look at and I wish Zimbabwe was better.
Yeah.
You know, shout out to Patricia. Shout out to the like. These are like that next dope Hollywood. I have no doubt these people would have made it in there. Yeah. Because aside from being comedic, these people can act. Do you get what I mean? Like, aside from humor is now
Patricia
is an additive.
Yeah.
These people can act. You put them in a scene and they're like, Tinai can act, bro.
Yeah, Tinai
can act, bro.
Yeah.
Like that's
even Munya.
That Steve Carell
type of
acting where it's like he just does things that are amazing and you're pecking and you're like, even from the side, Yaguti, aside from actually performing the green, the writing side of things.
Yeah.
If we had an industry, we simply would have people, like, I know comedians that might struggle on stage.
Yeah.
Right? Or struggle to act in front of camera, but you're like, Joki Ndukuruona.
Yeah.
Munanyora. We don't have an industry that allows somebody to be humble enough to say, in the stage morning. Because somebody might not be good at the writing, but they have the look. They look like a superstar. They look like they can, like somebody can put money in your pocket over Sonera Ningrini, and you just saying things that have been written for you. And we don't have an industry that allows people to be humble enough to say, I'm a writer. This guy is a performer. We do not.
Yeah.
So everyone is trying.
Yeah.
But if the audience is allowed to sit with itself and say, man, maybe he's not a performer. It's not, but it's not that audience.
Yeah.
But a dry joke is a dry joke.
Yes, but you can have confidence. The way up a stage and let's give him the grace. No. Joke where washaya, but washaya nekuti washaya rekana kuti iwewe wachina zvinhu zvatina zvamupekedzwa tikaripa Kandoro joke rarite
but ukona pane
tikaripa Ningiri narite
pane argument yangu ndepekuti tinenge tabhadhara mari mudhara kuti tikuone, so we are not then here.
Jesu makabhadhara macomedy show mangani ngativerenga macomedy show akati ndakaenda ndikabhadhara $10 ndipinda
2021 mira 2021 achitanga pakatanga masimuka comedy aitwa every last Friday by Resp Theatre rebhadhara $10 yangu ichipinda, so chivaona boys kana Long John akatombo yakati performera ku Resp Theatre ndo bhadhara
member Resp Theatre
but alright panyang matara nezve how America is doing it. There is a programs
there's an industry and structure
and in Zimbabwe we don't have that. And I would like to believe that no one is going to come from wherever and say, guys, I'm coming to do this for you. So you as like one of the icons in the industry, what are you? You're an icon, bro. Like there are people who are looking up to you. I know you can ask Tatenda. I know of comedians and guys. Kandoro anoshimanya. Kandoro akaita tour kwakazara, boys tukutamba, boys ngati serious. Kandoro kudai so people are looking up to you. So you, as one of the pillars of the comedian industry in Zimbabwe, do you have like plans or what that you have for the industry, the comedian industry in Zimbabwe?
Right. I think first thing that we need to speak about is pressure. That's a big pressure. That's a big pressure.
Yeah.
Do you know, like the biggest detriment is looking at what somebody else is doing and saying, like everything has its own time. Man.
Yeah.
Like everything. There's. I mean, it is coming from a place of privilege. Me saying this, Kuti, take your time because we generally don't have the same amount of time to figure things out.
Yeah.
Right. But like ideally, I would say someone like, yes, you can look at what somebody else is doing. And feel inspired. But it was one of the level you stress with shit. It's now you need to fix something. Right? Yes, you're going to have moments of envy. That's everyone. That's being human. But time. This atinangomuka tichita masold out shows. Katanga tichita na madorfia socials, but you have 20, 30. Chibasa on $2.
Mama kutopisa pa mama kutomadorfia socials. Apusuko wa makatanga.
No, I mean from this side of selling out. But like prior to that, we would be doing like Gatsby's. We would be doing Inakis like bro. Inini. As soon as I realized that no one was going to come and invite me to do a show, I started setting up my own shows. Like within the first year of doing this show.
Yep.
Like no one had told me the rules. I just grew tired of asking people for stage time. I was like, yo, let me start doing my own shows. I was fortunate enough for people to let me. The second thing to answer your question is that I'm doing absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you. Absolutely nothing. And I'll explain. First of all, my ideas and now data that I need to take and need to explore and figure this out. They don't require me to have pressure of trying to put anyone on. Do you get what I mean? There is a lot of arrogance, I think, that comes from the position here, which is so. Makangwesa sola mdara but deno batanga miranti takajeka industry. You get what I mean? Like I need for my family to be okay before I can start thinking of anybody else. Do you get what I mean? I need to get to it because I don't want to then do that and start blaming with I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
What I will do now is that if I have a show, I'm going to call who I trust. Wangu, come let's share this stage. I'm not doing that to support the industry, but I'm doing it in the hope here, if we drag one or two, at least we got to Gumira.
Yeah.
You get it? You guys come to the show, you see Tinashe. That means the next time that Tinashe announces this show, you guys are more inclined to go.
Yeah.
Whatever he does with that sport, that's his. I'm not going to follow up on Tinashe and say, he is a grown man. He can figure things out. Do you get what I mean? Pro, we're going to go on green, but it's not a, I'm not doing a call out.
Yeah.
You're going to, who wants to go on tour with me?
No, I'm going on tour with the people I trust.
Do you get what I mean? It's not a thing, we're doing it on green. I'm very against industry, takajeka industry. Because
yeah.
Everything needs to happen in its own time. Everything needs to happen in a very organic, as much, let's let things happen in its own time.
Yeah.
Saka kana pro akazorova chikolabo, taenda on tour akasangana na DJ Maporisa, akasipaka DJ Maporisa, akazowina Grammy, akazoita say, tichazoenda kuma Grammy ko tosangana na Kevin Hart, tosangana na Green. Like these things need to be let happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. But just being, I'm open enough. Like if you call me, I'm there.
It's pay number.
It's pay number.
I know just how much says on the pay now.
Yeah. So that's my policy.
Yeah.
Like I will feature in what Comic Pastor is doing. I'll feature in what Nijo is doing. because I believe.
Yeah, I saw you on a series.
The series, that's a big deal. It will feed them William Kumana. Like that's like this.
As a series.
My series, man.
You wait.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And that comes from just being. This thing needs to. Like prior to this generation of comedians, and Hans Kuna
and Carl Joshua
Ngube, and like I genuinely believe at some point Trufana could retire with Kandoro. I don't know.
Retire.
That's what I'm saying, Guti. That's what I'm saying. That's my point, Guti. Ukaona industry which you can't tell whether munaka retire. Industry yakaoma. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I go.
Industry yakaoma. Zvifana kuona kuti maizi mudhara macollector masororo yenyu kana mukuzodzoka pane just big comeback. Nekuti mudhara vane 10 years vasina kurova chi. Vakuita welcome.
Yeah, GGG. I'm focusing on my family. I was doing this. I was doing that.
Dave Chappelle. Kuoneka kuti makamboenda mukadzoka kana muita sei.
But tricky. Two things as we round off, because I asked for a little bit of your time. I wanted to touch on one thing. The first thing that you were talking about now was the idea of putting up a show.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have not understood how to put together a show. Yeah. And even when you were starting out, I remember when the first time, because you put me onto Pro Beats, the first time I watched Pro Beats was at a Kandoro show, I think at Inaki's.
Yeah.
And you're exposed to that person. But in addition to that, it gave the whole event like a good feel.
Yeah.
Which is really important. And then the last thing, I'm not letting you respond to that, but the last thing is today's Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And you're also talking about family and how you have a lot that you want to do for your family.
Yeah.
I have a lot of background on that, but I think it's some homage that we need to pay today.
Wow.
On this specific day. Yeah. And maybe starting off from, you were telling me about the process of putting together the last show and what was going on around that time. And I know a lot of people wouldn't have had as much perspective.
Yeah.
But I don't know what you would like to share specifically in that direction.
So 27, I don't know if this episode will be out by then. 27 May, doing another show. It'll probably be the first like big show on this scale without my mom, which was the big difference between last time we did celebration she was very poorly, but yeah, it's most of these things are being done in her honor, in her memory. She was very proud of this. She was very proud of how well it was going.
Yeah.
Let me say that. I think it gave her a lot of pride. We figured this out.
Yeah.
And we figured it out in a way. Yeah, she was very happy, and it made me happy to make her happy that way.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for this upcoming show. There's a lot of nervousness. I mean, now not so much, but I had to go on tour soon after she passed.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of nervousness, like, will I not be crying on stage? And we had a good time, and it felt very therapeutic to make jokes about her, to be laughing, and so now I'm very excited because there's now even more stuff to put together and share with the people. This is where we are, this is where we're going. I think it's going to be a good time. Yeah.
My favorite part kind of that story, and I've told you this several times away from cameras, is how much you inspire me because of what you were able to do for your mom while she was there. And I know there's like a temptation to be humble right now because, I would do it I was phoning her too much. But like, I'm aware of the fact that, you were very conscious of the stuff you wanted to do at the house, the whether it was furniture, renovations, making sure that they were comfortable as well.
Yeah.
And very few people can do that in the economy, Mawa. Like, it's so hard for people who are accountants or lawyers or doctors to be able to do that. And you were able to do that as a comedian. I think that really matters.
Can I swear on this?
You were swearing earlier, so
Did I?
it's too late now.
Yeah, so
I mean,
many
it's only
times.
this with Mama earlier.
I really don't count as swearing, but like because it's in Shona. But like, do you know, like part of me,
Yeah.
like part of the reason why I did what I was doing, I was like, fuck lawyers, bro. Like that's I'm not even lying. Like I would do things in spite. Like, yeah, let me see your lawyer son, dude.
Because I was in law school and I dropped out and you said I was stupid.
Niggas were trying to force me.
Yeah.
Like, listen, I remember meeting people like soon after I just dropped out. Like people who were like graduating, and I was like, I met people now, and like I actually met a guy very recently, and people think I forget. That's the disadvantage. Like I need you guys to know, like I don't forget anything. I met a guy who I bumped into soon after like things like this go around.
Yeah.
Like, so I bumped into, and you know when somebody sizes you up on some, I bumped into this guy. I was jumping into a meeting, and I looked like I was going into a meeting. And this guy is a lawyer now. It's like, Kandoro! And immediately when I hear somebody that I know calling me king, I know it's a Panemono or Dakuratidza.
Kutidumzi.
Then you go on up and I tell people, I know.
Bo.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's like for me, I've never been one to treat people with where they are in life.
Yeah.
You're just setting yourself up for failure. Like just treat people decently. Whoever they are, munasna mari ticket, munasna ningri. Like my favorite thing to do is to give people free tickets. Like somebody will come to you and say, Dara, you can tell with this person,
Muzo, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's because that thing, that person has probably contributed to YouTube revenue.
Yeah.
Right? They might not have Ningri, but they've watched the video.
Yeah.
Right? They Ningri, every single person is important. But because we're king or what Ningri.
Yeah.
That is a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
You get so that is a long-winded way to like half the things that I did for my mom. Constantly, I would always feel like under Garisa, I'm free.
Yeah. I'm not balling on the month
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because what she did for me, what my parents did for me, as much as they didn't want to, because I forced their hand, but they still gave me grace enough to figure this out. No one chased me away from home. No one agreed. So every single time I would get an opportunity, I would always want to do that. And I'm glad we got to do, most of that. Shout out to my wife. Because she was part of that, of helping, us figure that out, and doing it together. And we had a good 3 years, like as husband and wife with our mom.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of sadness, but I look at it with pride.
So I'm guessing there'll be some people that want to come to the show, but but are we going to get there to the Cheme rapper stage, like you're saying? So, how was it doing the SA in Namibia legs of
we never actually, do you know what? Like I never actually cried on stage, but you come close. Yeah. I think the first show I came close because I was like, I almost cried because I didn't cry.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Like, oh shit.
Why am I not shaken up?
Yeah, like I was shaken up, but like the fact like the audience was with me, like it was like this, like the people are so kind and they're like with you, they're like, we are here with you. And we are laughing, we are making jokes, I'm telling them stories about my mom, and we get to the end, it's like, wow. Show ya to pay that now, and you almost start feeling emotional because you're like, oh snap.
I was able to
do but like I find the good days, in a weird way, the good days are some of the hardest because you're like, I'm having a good day without my mom.
Yeah.
You're like, there's a guilty conscience that comes from that, like, this has been a very good day.
Yeah.
But I can't share it. I can't tell, like, because I would always go, like, I'd tell my wife and we're like, Mama Tushman. So like that's how I used to speak with her, like, hey, Wango.
To try.
Like, I remember, like, the last show that I did in January, I was telling like there's people that were visiting Pangoya at Christmas. We're going to do another show for them, and she was like, "Muna January that one."
I'm just going to
Like she was like, "Muna January that one."
January disease day, man.
So yeah,
my
man.
bro. Shout out.
Hey,
Genuinely.
we have won.
Done.